All right, guys. Not a guitar or gear video. This is going to be a very shaky because of this stupid cell phone mount. It's going to be a video talking about the 3 years of owning my Tesla Model 3 Performance, as tomorrow it is officially my last day of being the owner of this car, or the leasee of this car. I have to take it back to Atlanta and hand it back to the dealership, and just felt like doing a video to go over some of the things I liked and some of the things I don't like about the car after owning it for 3 years. I'm gonna start with the positives. This thing is fast. It's a very quick car. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone at this point. The catch to this is that it's really not all that impressive in terms of its speed, unless it's from a dig, like from a off the line. The off the line acceleration is nuts because there's no buildup of the power. It's just all there and it hits right there. Interstate speed is not impressive at all, especially compared to the Scat Pack. The Scat Pack was a turd off the line, but once it got moving, it built speed really in a really impressive way, especially given its size. So yeah, this is a fast car. Even the non-performance model is a pretty quick car as well. Also, another positive, the autopilot is great. This was the thing that I was kind of the most excited about having with a Tesla, is that the whole prospect of the lane keeping assist and the intelligent, cruise control. I didn't realize how important of a feature it would be until I started using it. And once I slowly developed that trust to let the computer drive, it was something I really embraced. And when I get in the red Volvo, which is the old 99 S70 T5 Volvo that we still keep around for hauling band equipment around to shows, which has the very basic, it'll maintain your speed cruise control, but it's not gonna slow down if the car in front of you slows down. So yeah, I did not get the full self-driving. At the time of purchasing or leasing the car, it was a $10,000 option, and it was very much unproven at that point. Still kind of unproven today, if I'm being honest, from what I've seen. But I was not going to pay $10,000 for that. I'm okay with changing lanes myself. So the autopilot and the lane keep assist, they work really well, but they're not perfect. And I'll go over kind of the quirks of that in my things I don't like about the Tesla video. So I'm glad that it comes standard. You don't have to pay extra for that. A lot of companies charge extra for that, and as a safety feature, I consider that something that if an auto manufacturer has the technology to put that in their car as an option, it should be standard. Just my philosophy. If it makes people safer, which it absolutely does, it has saved my bacon plenty of times. If the car company can put that in a car, it should be standard. The other thing I like, there's no screen here behind the steering wheel, and I didn't realize that this was going to be a thing until I started actually driving the car at night and realized that my eyes weren't tired at the end of a longer drive, especially like if I'm playing out of town and I brought the Tesla to a show and I've got like an hour drive home. All these cars with the screens behind the steering wheel, they can fatigue your eyes if it's late at night. And in the Dodge, I would always just lower the brightness on the display all the way down, and that did a great job. But just not having any screen at all just takes it that extra step further. But I do miss having a little bit of information right there where my eyes don't have to actually leave the road, like looking over at the screen. So yeah, that's kind of another thing I like, is just driving at night, very little eye fatigue. Let's see, another thing that I like is the remote control phone app. Now, I realize that a lot of other companies have this now, but when I leased this thing 3 years ago, Tesla was kind of really the only game in town with that, and they've made some improvements to it, and it's just gotten even better. I like the ability to turn the car on, to unlock doors, open the trunk. I've been places where, like at the office or something like that, and my wife would come by and need to get something out of the car. Maybe the kids left something, like a bag or something like that, in my car, and she needs to come get it. I don't have to leave the office. I could just open the car right there from my desk, and she could get whatever she needed. The ability to turn the AC on before I leave the office, or the heat on before I leave the office. Another nice to have convenience feature that the app allows. And again, I know that that's kind of standard, you know, assuming you want to pay extra for it for a lot of companies, but there are other companies offering that if you pay for it. So it's not like Tesla's the only company doing that now. Let's see, the other thing, let's see what else on my, I've got a list here. The cabin overheat protection. Speaking of AC when it's hot outside, I'm in Alabama, and it gets really hot during the summer, and I really like the fact that even if I don't turn on the air conditioning when I'm about to go outside to get in the car, it's not 140 degrees in this car. Getting into the car that has been maintained at around 90 degrees versus a car that's 140 degrees, massive difference. It's not nearly as painful. I can actually breathe in a 90 degree car. So yeah, it's another good thing I like. And weird little flex, chapstick never melts. The chapstick that I keep in my car does not melt with the cabin overheat protection on, so that's another good thing that I don't have to worry about. Let's see, another thing I like, the Sentry mode. The Sentry mode is really cool, and I'm glad that, again, that's a standard feature on these cars, is you have 4 cameras on this unit that are always on, assuming you have a USB drive plugged in. You've got 4 cameras that are on all the time. If you're driving, it is recording every angle of the vehicle in case you get in a wreck or something like that, or in case you see something stupid, or you name it. You've got video footage of it. If you are parked and the battery is at, you know, higher than 20%, again, it's recording the whole time. Next thing I like, the trunk space is huge. There's a huge amount of trunk space in this car, and a big reason for that is that there's no gas tank to take up space under the car. So basically, when you remove the cover over the trunk, the floor, there's another gigantic cavity that can fit a full-size suitcase in there. Perfect for groceries, perfect for a big suitcase or smaller bags. What I also liked using it for was it's a perfect size for holding a PA monitor. So that's another thing that, again, one of those unexpected nice things to have. The frunk is pretty handy, but I hardly ever used it, to be honest. It's not that big. It's not really the most practical storage spot for groceries. I mean, well, not for us, because we buy a ton of crap at the grocery store for all the kids and junk, but huge benefit, especially during COVID, was you're not paying for gas in this thing. Not having to pay for gas is a pretty big deal, especially if you're coming from something like a Dodge Charger with that 392 that drank gas like nobody's business, drank premium gas, average around 15 miles per gallon. It adds up. And originally I tried to make that a big selling point to why I wanted to try a Tesla was, we're $300 in gas, that goes away. Well, also the Tesla was about $300 more expensive than the Dodge, so it kind of equaled out, but it was nice not having to pay for gas. And what made it even better was that the owner of our company has a Model X, and he had a Tesla wall charger installed at our office. And so pretty much for the last 2 years, I've just been plugging in at the office, getting that free electricity, and not really having to think about gas payments. Now when it comes to the cost of recharging, it's a drop in the bucket. People like, when I would talk to people when I first got the car, like, oh, didn't your power bill go up a whole lot? Like, no, not really. Price per kilowatt in our area is, last time I checked, around maybe like $9, or 9 cents, excuse me, 9 cents per kilowatt hour, and or per kilowatt. I can't remember the actual terminology. Basically, it's cheap. It is really cheap to refill this thing. If I'm at 5 or 10%, we're looking at maybe $6-ish to go all the way back up to 100%. So, a drop in the bucket compared to what it could be, especially compared to what a tank of gas would cost. So we do the averaged billing with the power company, so we literally saw no change whatsoever to our power bill, so that was a good thing. Let's see. Total silence. The car is on and there's no vibration, there's no noise. All you hear is the air conditioning. There is some road noise, I won't lie. With so much glass in the car, you do notice quite a bit of road noise, but it's still a very quiet experience. And I believe the new facelift version that they recently announced has the insulated double layer glass that's much quieter, so that's a good thing. Not having an engine and exhaust and like mechanical stuff making noise, you start to notice the other noises that otherwise would be masked in a normal car. But when you're at a standstill, like at a stoplight or something like that, sitting in traffic, there's no vibrations at all. It is perfectly smooth. It's almost like you're sitting in a car that's just powered off or idling with the engine turned off. So that's about how I would describe it. The build quality on this car is really good. And I remember when I first got it, there were tons of people complaining about the build quality, the panel gaps. Everything was just lined up just right. So I think I got a good one. I don't know if it was outliers of people who were the most vocal about their panel gaps, but all I can say is that the one that I got, it was built and put together very well. Next, the sound system. The sound system in this car is really good. I know that Savage Geese, in his review for this car, complained about the amount of glass causing some echoes and reverberations of the sound waves bouncing off the glass and kind of causing problems. While that kind of sort of is an issue, it was one that I fixed using these little sunshades here, which have been in the car pretty much since I got it. They absorb that sound that otherwise would be reflecting off of the big glass panels on the roof. Next thing I like that the turn signals, and this this is a feature that they added after I bought the car. When you turn on a turn signal, it activates the camera on the side of the car. Let me see if I can show you that. So let's see right here. If I turn on the turn signal, you see it turn on one and then the other. So I really like that, and I didn't realize how much I would like it until they added it, and I almost never look over my shoulder anymore. And I know that's going to be something I'm going to have to retrain my brain to do, because it sees better than I can looking over my shoulder through the window. There's no blind spot, so I can see through my peripheral if there's someone next to me, and the car will make a, it'll alert you if you try to turn signal and change lanes next to you, if there's a car next to you. But the camera, it sees so much more than your eyes can. So that was a great feature for them to add. Really glad that all the new Tesla owners get that kind of from the factory. These aren't the most expensive cars, especially if you get the middle range one, the long range all-wheel drive model. I think that's the sweet spot model for the Model 3 and the Model Y. I think that for the money, they're about the fastest cars that you're gonna find from the factory. I think that for the $55,000 that I paid for this, it's gonna be really hard to find another car that's gonna hit 60 miles an hour and right at 3.1, 3.2, whatever they rated at, right around 3 seconds, and run 11.5, 11.6 like clockwork. That's a quick car, and for 55 grand brand new, who knows what they go for used, that's a lot of speed for the money. And the way that it's delivered, the practical nature of how it puts down the power and the acceleration is unmatched no matter what. I don't care if you got a turbo car, supercharged car, naturally aspirated, nothing puts down the power like this. And it's shocking if you're not ready for it, if you've never experienced it, how sudden the hit in power is, because you get all of it right away. There's no turbo spool or anything like that. You just get it all. And even if you're like trying to get in traffic or pull out quick, if there's a little break in traffic, that instant blast of all the power is super handy. It's super practical too. So I'm gonna miss that. Let's see, what else? Oh, the purchasing experience. Literally just buy the car online and go pick it up. It was super easy. I think I was probably at the dealer for 15 minutes. Like, it was easy. I did all my stuff online, got the insurance, went back and forth with the sales associate that got assigned to me at the purchase, and just kind of signed a couple of things at the dealership, and I was out. I'm sure if I had asked them to go over some of the stuff with the car with me, they would have shown me what's what, but by the time I was ready to buy, I had already watched countless videos showing how to do everything. So I was very familiar with the car, how to work the infotainment system and all that. So great, painless buying experience. The armrest and console storage in this car is obscene. It's like a giant cave. Like the whole armrest underneath the console down here is just a giant cave. You could probably fit a couple of gallons of milk. I'm not exaggerating. It's huge. Let's see if I can. So that's a big area. Like, this is full size Yeti going down there, and then you've got your USB ports. You've got the the USB stick there for the Sentry camera. And so yeah, tons of room. So I really like that. Let's see what else. So what else on the list here? Lots of legroom in the back. There's no transmission, no exhaust tunnel or anything like that to make that weird hump between the two seats at the in the floor. So you basically just have a completely flat floor in the back. So that's nice. Again, band equipment, you know, mic stands and guitar cases and things like that. Just having a flat surface to lay that stuff on in the back when the trunk's full is really nice to have. Oh, and the app, they added the ability to view a live feed of the cameras. Now, it doesn't work all the time. It's kind of hit or miss. But when it works, it's pretty good. You can pull up all 4 of the cameras and just view a live feed of the car. I don't know if it's... I don't know if it has to do with like the cellular feed of the car, the cellular strength of the car itself, or what, but it's just another one of those nice to have features that when it works, it's pretty good. When it doesn't, you're just like, yeah, whatever. I know it's still recording, so if something does happen, I'll at least be able to check it out afterwards. It would be nice if you had the option to have it give you a heads up if it detected the Sentry mode activity, where if someone gets too close to the car or tries to open the door when it's locked and you're not near the car, it'll trigger a Sentry mode event. Just even if it's just an SMS message or a message from the app, that would have been nice to have. And surely that's got to be something on their radar, but it's not right now. But it would be nice to have in the future. I already mentioned the initial year of ownership. The initial year of ownership was, this car was a pretty fun conversation piece for a lot of my circles of friends and acquaintances, because no one else had an EV, and it was one of those things where I myself questioned, is this the right purchase for me? Is this something I'm ready for? It's a big shift in terms of the dynamics of the vehicle itself. But I feel like after maybe the first month or so of owning it and figuring out, you know, what an EV owning experience was like, it put a lot of my fears to rest, and it was an experience that led me to be able to have those conversations with other people who maybe also were wondering, oh, well, can I get away with an EV? Well, what about this? What about that? There was a lot of misinformation about like all the supposed pain points and headaches and hassles of owning an EV, that most of them were either greatly over exaggerated or just completely wrong. So I was able to kind of clear the water for quite a few people. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some pain points that are very much valid, which I'll go over in the video that I'll do right after this about things that I didn't really care too much about. But in terms of the whole myth busting thing, there were a lot of people that it's almost like they were goading me into a conversation that they thought that they had some kind of gotcha, that they were gonna, you know, pin me with, like, oh, you can't do this, can't do that. And I'm like, well, actually, no, that's all wrong. Here's what it's really like. And, you know, got very good reactions from people when they realized, oh, it's not as bad as, you know, whoever, talking head, media, social media, whatever. It's not as bad as these people are making it out to be. So, let's see. Oh, another thing that also I had really no idea how cool it would be until I actually started using is the third-party app support for the Teslas is really neat. Teslafy is hands down one of the coolest third-party data metrics. I don't even know how you would explain it. These cars collect a ton of information about the driving, the weather, the GPS, the charging, energy consumption, the efficiency of your driving. It captures a lot of information, and Teslafy, unless someone else has come along in the last year and a half, I believe that they do the best job of presenting all this driving and charging and efficiency data to you in a very easy to understand way that show you what the car's doing, how you're driving, things like that. It's really neat to go back and look at like long trips and see how efficiently I drove, and it kind of turns into a game when you're driving an EV. Like, you try to see how far you can stretch it, how efficient you can drive, and it's really neat to have a easy to understand presentation of the data that the car collects. A lot of people probably don't care about seeing like all the nerdy stuff like that, but for me it was really neat to be able to see all that kind of information. And the final positive experience is when I got this car, people thought that it was way more expensive than it actually was. Now, $55,000 for a lot of people is a lot of money, and I think that the stigma that people had with the Teslas was still stuck to their Model S and Model X pricing, which, those are $70,000 to $100,000 Teslas. Yeah, those are really expensive cars, but they're also nicer inside than this one is. But these are very affordable cars at this point, in my opinion. Even if you don't go with the performance models, you can get in the door for like $35,000, especially now that there's like over $7,000 in tax rebates for the EV credits from the government. It's an even bigger incentive to strongly consider a Tesla or another EV. But the only caveat to another EV would is that if you don't get a Tesla, you don't get their charging network right now. Now, I know that Tesla are opening that ability up to other companies. I don't know if they're going to be able to charge as fast as a Tesla can at a supercharger, but getting the Tesla, getting access to their supercharger network, it's a very compelling purchase at this point, I believe, especially now. They've made big strides with their charging infrastructure in the last 3 years. I know that down here in the Southeast, it was bad. Like Southeast Alabama was basically no man's land for EVs. It just wasn't an option. You couldn't drive an EV down in Southeast Alabama. Kind of the same with over on like the western side of Alabama, around Tuscaloosa and getting over there towards Mississippi. You couldn't do it. Especially the standard range models that only got maybe 200 miles of range. It was a bad time. And even with this car, with having, a factory rated 290 whatever miles of range, it was really stretching it for some of these trips. They've put a few more superchargers in Alabama that have greatly reduced that headache and the whole range anxiety problem that I legitimately had several times in this car back when I first got it. Several times spent eating lunch, taking a nap at a hotel parking lot using a level 2 charger, until Montgomery got us superchargers. That was kind of how I had to roll for a while, so it was a pain in the butt, but I kind of made do with it. If you're in an area with lots of superchargers, then this is not really a problem. But again, I don't know what the situation in that rollout for non-Tesla vehicle compatibility charging with the superchargers is. So for the money, I think they're very, very good cars, and in my opinion, they would be the only EV I would consider if I were shopping for another EV. I'm not sticking with Tesla or any other EV after this. I might in the future, but I'm going back to gasoline, and I will talk about why and what my next move is in the next video. But for now, I just wanted to kind of wrap up, and I'm going to wrap up here, and I was just drawing out, but I had a lot of good things to talk about, and hopefully if you guys are considering a Tesla or perhaps an EV in general, this can be a video or two here that can at least give you perspectives from someone who's had it for 3 years, and I'm very open, honest, and objective about it. I'm not one of the fanboys who just blindly loves everything with Elon or this company. I don't have any Tesla stock or anything like that. I didn't really care much one way or the other for Elon when I bought the car. I just wanted something that was quick, energy efficient, and unique, and I got that. I still don't really care one way or the other about Elon or his politics or X or whatever. Speaking strictly as a vehicle and mode of transportation, I think these are really good cars. I think that they've made good strides with the charging network, which is huge. I think they've made some good changes to the infotainment, some not so good, which I'll talk about in the next video. But overall, it was a positive experience. I had no issues mechanically, no issues with any of the electronics. Everything just worked. The car was put together well. There were no creaks, no rattles, no noises, no nothing. It just, I get in the car and I drive, and it works. If that's all you want, then maybe a Tesla's for you. There's no maintenance, there's no oil changes, there's no coolant overheating or anything like that. It's like the Tesla, you can sit there in 100 degrees stop and go gridlock traffic. The car doesn't care. In fact, it's going to be more efficient that in the stop and go traffic than it would be driving. So if you're stuck in a traffic jam, you're using less energy than the car having to push itself through the air. So lots of good things about the Teslas, lots of good things about EVs in general. No car is perfect. This one certainly is no exception, and in my next video I'll go over some of the things that maybe I didn't care for as much, but for now that's the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one. Stay tuned.